A millionaire pretends to be poor and decides to work at his own hotel to check on his staff and discovers something shocking. Before we start the story, comment below with the city you're watching from. Enjoy the story, everyone. Harrison Blake always believed his hotel was impeccable until he started hearing rumors about unequal treatment given to certain guests. Comments about employees ignoring less wealthy clients and managers only attending to high-class individuals troubled him. He knew that, as the owner, he would hardly hear the truth from his own staff. So, he decided to act. "I'll work undercover at my own hotel," he thought, already outlining the details of the plan. A few days later, wearing jeans and a simple t-shirt, Harrison entered the reception. To everyone there, he was just Hank, a new employee. No one had any idea that behind that modest appearance was the actual owner of the hotel. Disguised, he felt the adrenaline rush as he observed the movements of guests and the behavior of employees. With fake documents handed to HR, he was quickly assigned to cleaning duty and kept an eye on the basic training he was given. Everything was new, even the treatment, much colder than he expected. With a broom in hand and a worn-out uniform, Harrison officially found himself inside his own hotel, ready to discover the truth. In the first few days, Harrison, now Hank, faced the reality of an ordinary employee's routine. Along endless corridors, passing by event halls and leisure areas, he swept floors, cleaned windows, and removed stains from luxurious furniture he had chosen himself. The routine was exhausting, and he quickly realized how much he had underestimated the work of his own team. Besides the physical fatigue, the disdain from some older employees didn't go unnoticed. The manager, Paul, had a habit of ignoring him or giving him disdainful looks. Paul seemed only to have eyes for the wealthier guests, giving special attention to those who flaunted their wealth. Harrison observed everything carefully, noting every detail. On the third day, while cleaning the second-floor hallway, he met Lily Evans, a young maid who smiled at everyone. She wore her uniform with elegance, although the worn sleeves and scuffed shoes revealed her difficult financial condition. Yet her face radiated genuine kindness. She approached Harrison and, with a warm smile, offered to help carry a heavy cleaning cart. "You're new here, aren't you?" she asked as they pushed the cart down the hallway together. "Yes, I am, and it seems I have a lot to learn," Harrison replied, surprised by her friendliness. Lily laughed. A light and sincere laugh. "Don't worry, it's complicated at first, but you'll get the hang of it soon, and as hard as it is, it's honest work." Her words made him reflect. Here was someone who, despite the hardships, seemed happy and grateful. He watched her help colleagues, assist guests needing information, and even fetch a glass of water for an elderly lady complaining about the heat. Lily's attention and care for everyone left an impact on him. Harrison began to realize that his investigation was just beginning, but that young maid already showed the kind of dedication and integrity he didn't see in many of his executives. At the end of the shift, he thanked her for the help, and Lily smiled again, unaware that she was talking to the owner of the hotel. Harrison left the hotel that day, reflecting on the simplicity and kindness he found in Lily. In the following days, Harrison discreetly tried to stay close to Lily whenever possible, observing not just her work, but her attitude in every task. Unlike the other employees, who often worked on autopilot, she treated each guest with care, as if she were welcoming someone into her own home. In one of these interactions, Harrison finally got the chance to talk to her during a brief break. The two were sitting in the staff area, a small space with plastic chairs and a coffee machine that seemed decades old. Lily was resting with a glass of water in her hands and a thoughtful look on her face. "So Lily, have you been here long?" Harrison asked, trying to keep the tone casual. She gave a small smile, as if she were used to answering the same question. "Almost 2 years. It's not easy, but I like what I do. This place is almost like a second home to me." "I imagine it must be hard to balance work and personal life, right?" he continued, curious about what she went through outside of work. Lily looked at him and hesitated for a moment, but then she seemed to trust him. "Yeah, I'm a single mom. I have a 6-year-old son, Ben. He's my reason for everything, you know? I work here to give him a decent life and show him that with hard work, we can achieve things. It's not easy, but it's worth it." Harrison stayed silent, absorbing her words. He noticed the intensity and sincerity in her gaze, and in that moment, he realized that his purpose in investigating the hotel was broadening. It was no longer just about the service, but about understanding the lives and sacrifices of the people working for him. "You're very strong, Lily," he said, surprising himself with the sincerity of his compliment. She smiled, a bit shyly. "I think we all have some strength inside. We just need a reason to use it." As they returned to work, Harrison felt a growing admiration for Lily. His presence at the hotel was taking on a new meaning. He was beginning to realize there was much to learn from this young mother, whose humility and determination mirrored everything he had forgotten. In the following days, Harrison started observing Lily even more closely. He noticed how she brightened up the space around her, always ready to help her coworkers and attend to guests with a smile. Lily was the first to offer help, whether it was pushing heavy carts or taking care of the simplest requests from guests. Everything about her was genuine, and Harrison felt that this authenticity was exactly what was missing in the cold, automated service he had seen so far. One afternoon, as he was adjusting pillows in one of the rooms, he overheard Lily talking with a coworker, Carla, about her dreams. She was talking about wanting to study nursing and help others in a more meaningful way. Harrison, who pretended to be organizing a nearby closet, listened to every word. "I want to show Ben that we can work hard and achieve our dreams, you know?" Lily said with a sparkle in her eyes. "But right now, every cent I earn goes toward rent, food, and what he needs for school." Her determination touched him in a way he couldn't explain. Harrison couldn't help but feel growing admiration for Lily, and the connection he felt with her grew stronger each day. He remembered how he'd started his career facing challenges and obstacles, but always with the resources and opportunities his family provided. She, on the other hand, seemed to be navigating much rougher waters without a safety net, but with immense strength that he found inspiring. At the end of her shift, he found her in the back area of the hotel, carefully folding her uniform. He walked over, feeling the need to learn more about this woman who was stirring something inside him. "Lily, if you could change anything in your life right now, what would it be?" he asked, trying to come across as just a curious friend. She thought for a moment before answering, as if the weight of the question required deep reflection. "I think I'd spend more time with Ben. He's my priority, but sometimes I feel like work takes up so much. If I could, I'd be there for every moment with him." Harrison nodded, absorbing the depth of her words. It made him think about his own distance from family and friends because of work. It was a disconnection he had chosen, but now it felt like too high a sacrifice. Over the days, he and Lily continued to grow closer, almost without realizing it. Their friendship deepened with each conversation, and Harrison discovered that this journey was bringing him something unexpected: the rediscovery of values he had once left behind. By the end of that week, he knew that his presence there wasn't just about the hotel anymore. He found himself drawn to Lily's simplicity, kindness, and strength, feeling a genuine connection with her, as if, amid the hard work and hotel corridors, he had found something he'd been searching for unknowingly. As Harrison settled into the work routine and spent more time with the staff, he began to see clearly what was really happening behind the scenes at the hotel. While many employees, like Lily, worked tirelessly, the environment was far from healthy. The manager, Paul, bothered him deeply. Arrogant and dismissive, he made a point of belittling employees in lower positions. Paul was known for treating wealthy clients with excessive deference while completely ignoring more modest guests. On a particularly busy day, Harrison witnessed Paul unnecessarily reprimanding a young employee just to impress an influential guest passing through the lobby. This behavior made Harrison feel the weight of his decision to stay incognito. He wanted to intervene but knew his mission required patience. Paul's disdain for the staff was evident and corrosive. He ignored any requests for better working conditions, and the younger employees seemed demotivated and tired. For Harrison, this situation was unacceptable. He always believed that the foundation of a good business was respect and valuing the team, but seeing the reality he had overlooked made him realize how far he was from his own values. In one particular moment, While he was pushing a cart with clean towels down the hallway, he crossed paths with Paul and heard a mocking comment. "Come on, hurry up with that. It seems some employees never learn to work quickly." Harrison held back from reacting, responding only with a silent nod. He knew he would need to endure moments like this to get to the bottom of the issue and fully understand the situation. Still, seeing how Paul treated others made it clear that there was a serious problem in the hotel's management. Let's play a little game with those who only read the comments. Type chocolate in the comments. Only those who make it this far will understand. Now let's continue with the story. One evening, after a particularly tough day, Harrison met with Lily in the staff area. She looked tired, but, as always, had that serene glow in her eyes. As they talked, she revealed that several colleagues were thinking of quitting because they couldn't stand the hostile environment and the manager's abusive behavior anymore. "I think Paul makes a point of showing that we're all here just to serve. He always reminds us that we're easily replaceable," she confided, with a note of sadness. Those words echoed in Harrison's mind. He knew that for many there, the prospect of change was almost non-existent. He, on the other hand, had the power to change everything, but he would need to act at the right moment. Internally, a decision began to take shape. He knew that at the end of this experience, something would need to be done to restore respect and dignity to each of the employees. The reality he faced daily as Hank brought out a renewed determination. Each day in disguise made him understand the depth of his responsibility as a leader. And alongside Lily, he felt he had found a greater inspiration for this transformation. As time went on, the connection between Harrison and Lily became more intense. The friendship they built during quick work breaks and conversations about life was turning into something deeper. Harrison realized that he cared for her in a way he never imagined possible. And the strength of that feeling began to weigh on his disguise. He was no longer just the millionaire investigating his own hotel, but someone who felt an increasing need to be sincere. One afternoon, as they finished cleaning an event hall, Lily shared one of the most vulnerable moments of her life. She talked about the challenge of raising her son alone, the sleepless nights when he was sick, and the difficulties of balancing work and motherhood. "Sometimes I feel like I can't handle it, but then I think of his smile and it gives me the strength to keep going." Harrison listened in silence, his heart heavy. Every word she spoke revealed a strength he had never seen before. This was the woman he was beginning to love, someone who made him feel more human, more connected to real life. At the same time, his dilemma grew. How could he tell her that he was actually the owner of the hotel? And worse, how would she react when she found out he had been hiding it from the beginning? One late afternoon, while they were outside the hotel, Harrison could no longer avoid the topic and tried, though indirectly, to gauge her thoughts on honesty. "Lily, what would you do if you found out that someone you admire had kept an important secret from you?" he asked, trying to gauge her reaction. She thought for a moment and replied firmly, "I think it depends on the reason, but for me, trust is essential. Any relationship, whatever it may be, only exists when there's sincerity." Her words felt like a slap to Harrison. He knew that each day he went without revealing his true identity made the prospect of a future with her more complicated, but at the same time, he feared that revealing himself would destroy everything they had built together. He was trapped in a dilemma with no way out. As she said goodbye that night, Harrison stayed back, watching her walk away. He knew he had to make a decision. More and more, he saw that his life until now, filled with wealth and power, hadn't prepared him for this moment. Lily made him see the world from a new angle, and each day this experience was transforming him. Determined to wait for the right moment, he carried on with his routine, but now with one certainty. He had to find a way to reveal who he really was, without hurting her in the process. The next morning, Harrison arrived at the hotel, already feeling the weight of his pending decision. He knew that at some point, he would have to reveal his true identity to Lily, but it still didn't feel like the right time. Meanwhile, the pressure in the hotel was continuing to mount, especially due to the manager, Paul, whose behavior was becoming more problematic and abusive. Harrison watched Paul closely, And now that he was more involved in the staff's daily routine, he saw the direct impact of Paul's toxic leadership. Paul seemed to take a particular pleasure in humiliating and intimidating those under his command, especially new hires like Hank and employees he considered subordinates, like Lily. Harrison could see how this affected Lily, who always tried to stay positive, though at times she couldn't hide her frustration and exhaustion. One especially busy afternoon, Paul found some minor excuse to reprimand Lily. She was helping a family find their room when Paul showed up, crossing his arms and adopting his usual authoritarian stance. "Lily, you're not supposed to be here. Didn't I make it clear that housekeeping staff shouldn't deal with guests directly? Just focus on your basic job. That's enough for you," he said harshly. Lily lowered her head, embarrassed. The public humiliation affected her, but she tried to keep her composure, masking how much Paul's words hurt her. Harrison, watching the scene from a distance, felt anger rising inside him. He wanted to step in, but knew that, as Hank, he couldn't confront Paul without risking his entire plan. Still, the situation became unbearable when he saw Lily walk away with tears in her eyes, struggling to hide her frustration. He waited until the hallway cleared, then followed her. He found her in the staff break area, sitting with her face buried in her hands. Harrison sat beside her in silence, offering quiet support. After a moment, Lily lifted her head, giving him a faint, fragile smile. "I'm sorry, Hank. I'm being weak. It's just that sometimes this place feels so heavy," she admitted, trying to hold back her tears. "There's nothing weak about that, Lily. Quite the opposite. You've been incredibly strong every day, enduring what no one should have to. I don't understand why Paul treats you that way," Harrison responded, holding back his frustration. She took a deep breath, trying to regain her composure. "Paul's always been like this. I think he likes showing us how disposable we are, as he says. It's part of his personality, and everyone just knows how he is." Hearing her words brought Harrison a deep sadness. It was as if she had come to accept the disrespect and humiliation. To him, that was unacceptable, and it only strengthened his resolve to do something about it. He knew that a change was urgently needed, not only for Lily's sake, but for everyone working under such pressure. That night, Harrison stayed up late, thinking about how to confront Paul without revealing his identity. He was impatient, but knew he needed to be cautious. Finally, he decided he would confront Paul in the next shift, whatever the cost. The next day, Harrison found Paul in the break room, complaining to other staff about the poor work of some housekeeping team members. It was the perfect opportunity. "Paul, can I talk to you for a moment?" Harrison said, keeping his voice steady. Paul looked at him with a mix of disdain and surprise. "What is it, Hank?" "I'm busy. It's about how you're treating the staff. I think you're being unfair to some people here." Paul let out a mocking laugh, attracting the attention of other employees. "Unfair? Listen here, you're new, so I'll let that slide. I'm the manager, and I know my job. If you think you can teach me something, you're very mistaken." Harrison kept his calm, but didn't back down. "I just think you could be more respectful. Everyone here is doing their best." "Oh, so now we have a defender of the weak and oppressed?" Paul sneered, staring at Harrison with a challenging look. "Listen, Hank, I'm in charge here. If you don't like how I run things, maybe this place isn't for you." Paul's words echoed, and Harrison had to hold himself back from reacting in a way that would reveal his true identity. It was obvious that Paul saw the employees as expendable, and it disgusted him. He knew this confrontation wouldn't be enough to change Paul's attitudes, but something had to be done. It was only a matter of time before he could take definitive action. Later that same day, Harrison found Lily again. She looked beaten down, the weight of the earlier humiliation still visible on her face. Harrison felt a pang of pain seeing how fragile she seemed and sat next to her, trying to find the right words. "Lily, you deserve so much more than this," he said, his voice full of sincerity. "No one should be treated this way." She smiled, but her eyes showed her exhaustion. "Sometimes I think about leaving. I look for other opportunities, but none of them pay enough to support my son and cover all the expenses. I feel stuck." Harrison wanted to tell her that everything would change soon, that he would make sure to transform the hotel's environment, but he couldn't reveal his plan just yet, so he decided to simply offer his support. Whatever you need, I'm here. You're not alone." Lily looked at him, and for the first time saw a true friend in him, someone who genuinely cared. She thanked him with a warm look, and for a moment, the fatigue seemed to lift. As she walked away, Harrison felt an urgent need to solve this problem growing inside him. His plan was clear. Once he revealed who he was, Paul would be the first to answer for his behavior. And most importantly, he would make sure that Lily and everyone else never felt undervalued in that place again. Until then, he would stay by her side, strengthening their bond and preparing the ground for the change that was about to happen. Weeks had passed, and the atmosphere in the hotel seemed increasingly heavy. Paul intensified his authoritarian stance, pressuring the employees and treating them with obvious disdain. For Harrison, the limit was near. He knew he couldn't stay in disguise much longer and was waiting for the right moment to reveal his identity and implement the necessary changes. During this time, his bond with Lily had become more intense. The moments they spent together were a relief from the daily hardships, and Harrison felt a true connection had formed between them. But the dilemma was eating him up inside. He knew that the lie about his identity could destroy everything they had built, and the fear of losing her trust left him anguished. After a long and exhausting workday, Harrison and Lily were sitting in the staff area, having coffee. The exhaustion was evident on their faces, but the comfortable silence between them was reassuring. "You know, Hank, working here is a roller coaster. Some days seem unbearable, but I think about the people who care and the small moments that make it worthwhile. That's what gives me the strength to keep going," Lily said, giving him a grateful look. Harrison felt a tightness in his chest. He knew the time had come. He could no longer sustain the lie. He was determined to reveal his identity and finally end the cycle of abuse and humiliation that Paul caused. By taking his rightful position, he could change that reality and improve the lives of the employees. The next morning, Harrison took action. He organized a meeting to thank the employees for their work and commitment. The news spread quickly. The hotel owner would be present. The curiosity and anticipation among the employees were palpable. But for Harrison, the moment was tense. He knew the revelation would be a shock to Lily, and he braced himself to face her reaction and the possible consequences. "Let's play a little game with those who only read the comments. Type hamburger in the comments. Only those who make it this far will understand." Now let's continue with the story. When the time for the meeting arrived, Harrison entered the event hall where everyone was waiting for him. Dressed in his usual suit with a firm stance, he was no longer the Hank everyone had come to know. The looks he received were filled with respect and surprise, especially from Lily, who stared at him wide-eyed, unable to believe the transformation. "Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here," Harrison began seriously. "To some of you, I'm just a name behind this hotel chain. But over the past few weeks, I've had the chance to work alongside you. I've seen firsthand the effort and dedication each of you puts into this hotel every day." The room fell silent. The employees were stunned. Harrison felt Lily's gaze on him, trying to process how the man she'd worked closely with was actually the hotel owner. He continued, "I've seen injustices and witnessed unacceptable situations like the disrespectful way some of you are treated. I'm here to make a difference, and that starts with an apology to each of you who has ever felt undervalued here." As he spoke, Paul, the manager, grew visibly uncomfortable. He tried to keep his composure, but a hint of fear showed in his eyes. Harrison looked directly at Paul, making it clear that he was next. "Paul," Harrison began, his tone serious, "over the past few weeks, I've observed how you behave with the staff. I've seen how you choose to treat people with disdain, as if they're beneath you. I've witnessed abuse, humiliation, and disrespect. That's not leadership, and I will no longer tolerate that kind of attitude in this hotel." Paul turned pale but tried to defend himself. "Mr. Blake, if I may, I've always done my job to the best of my ability. Maintaining order requires discipline and—" Harrison cut him off firmly. "Discipline is not about humiliating and intimidating people, Paul. Efficiency is not about belittling the people working alongside you. These employees are the heart of this hotel. They are the ones who make things run, who attend to guests and ensure satisfaction. and you, instead of leading and inspiring, have chosen to treat them as disposable." Paul tried again, visibly nervous. "Mr. Blake, I was just following the company's standards of efficiency." "No, Paul. Efficiency without respect is not a standard I want for my hotel," Harrison replied, his tone now final. "You had your chance to lead, but you used your position to take advantage of others. Therefore, you're officially fired, and I hope this serves as a lesson on respect and leadership." The employees exchanged glances, many looking both surprised and relieved. Humiliated, Paul shot Harrison one last look of hatred before leaving the hall without another word. Murmurs of relief and satisfaction echoed through the room, while Harrison looked at the employees with a serious expression. He turned to them, this time with a look of understanding. "From now on, I promise this hotel will be a place where you can work with dignity and respect. I want each of you to know that you are valued." As he spoke, his eyes met Lily's, who was still watching him with a mixture of confusion and sadness. She seemed shaken, clearly struggling to process the fact that he'd kept his true identity hidden. He knew he'd need to explain himself to her, but this was a moment for her to reflect. "Lily," he said softly, "I know this disguise seemed like a lie. Working with you and getting to know your story, it changed me deeply. I should have been honest from the start, and I understand if you're hurt." Lily shook her head, frustration in her eyes. "So, was all this just a game? Were you just observing us? Observing me?" Harrison felt the sting of her words and wanted to explain. "It wasn't a game, Lily. Nothing I feel for you was fake. I needed to understand the reality here. You showed me what it means to have integrity and strength." She looked at him, still visibly hurt. "I need time, Harrison. I need to process all of this." He nodded, feeling the weight of the situation. He knew her trust had been shaken, and that winning it back would take time. Despite the pain, he respected her need to step away. In the days that followed, Harrison moved quickly to make meaningful changes in the hotel. With Paul gone, he promoted leaders who were fair and focused on valuing the team. The news brought relief, and gradually, the employees began working with more ease and confidence. But despite the improvements, Harrison couldn't ignore the emptiness left by Lily's distance. One night, as he was leaving the hotel, Harrison saw Lily waiting for him. When she saw him, she hesitated but didn't look away. He realized this was his chance. "Lily, can we talk?" he asked sincerely. She nodded, and they walked to a quiet area in the hotel garden. Harrison then revealed everything, explaining the reasons for his disguise, his intentions, and his genuine feelings for her. "I wanted to understand the weight of your work, what you all really go through here. And meeting you made me realize I needed to change this place. You were my inspiration, and everything I feel for you is real," Harrison said, pouring his heart into his words. She listened in silence, carefully weighing each word. Finally, she responded softly. "Harrison, it's not easy to forget how everything happened, but I see you really want to change and that you care. I just need time to trust again." He accepted, relieved. He knew rebuilding the trust between them would be a long journey, but he was willing to take every step by her side. In the days that followed, Harrison focused intensely on making changes within the hotel. He knew he needed to transform the work environment and create a culture of respect and support, leaving behind the shadow Paul had cast over the staff. Weeks went by, and Harrison saw the positive impact of his actions. The employees were more enthusiastic, communication improved, and for the first time, he felt the hotel had become a place of growth and collaboration. But despite all the progress, Lily's absence continued to hurt. Although she still worked at the hotel, she avoided any personal contact with him. Harrison respected her choice, but each day he felt the void left by her emotional absence. He tried to focus on the hotel's improvements, but Lily was a constant presence in his thoughts. Determined to keep her distance, Lily threw herself into work, trying to process the revelation and its impact on her heart. She knew Harrison was changing the hotel for the better and appreciated his efforts, but there was still a wound. The shock of discovering the true identity of the man she had shared so many conversations and confidences with was hard to overcome. Still, she couldn't deny that, deep down, she missed the closeness and sincerity she believed they had. One quiet Saturday afternoon, Harrison was in his office, reviewing some proposals for hotel improvements. Then he heard a soft knock on the door. Looking up, he saw Lily standing there, hesitant but with a determined expression on her face. "Lily," he said, surprised and with his heart racing. "Please come in." She entered slowly and closed the door behind her. There was a tense silence between them, but Harrison patiently waited for her to speak. Finally, she took a deep breath and began, her voice firm. "I wanted to say that I've noticed everything you've been doing for us. The changes, how you've transformed the hotel. I see that you really care about everyone here. And in a way, it makes me believe your intentions were genuine." Harrison nodded, feeling the weight of her words. "Lily, I did all this because I learned so much from you. Seeing the world through your eyes showed me the importance of respect, empathy, and love for others. I know I was wrong to hide who I was, but my feelings for you have always been real." She looked away, visibly touched. "It's hard for me to trust you, Harrison. When I found out the truth, it felt like everything we had built crumbled. But I want to believe people can change." Harrison breathed a sigh of relief, seeing an opening in her words. "I know I can't erase the past, but I'm willing to prove that you can trust me, every day. If you give me a chance, I promise I'll never hide anything from you again." They sat in silence, absorbing the moment. The air felt lighter, and for the first time since the revelation, Harrison felt there was real hope. He didn't expect Lily to forgive him immediately, but her willingness to listen and acknowledge his efforts was a big step. Finally, Lily looked at him and, with a shy smile, said, "I still need time, but we can start slow. Maybe we can try to rebuild what we had, little by little." Harrison nodded respectfully. "Take all the time you need, I'll be here. I won't force anything. I just want you to know I'll be by your side whenever you need." Lily smiled, and in that moment, a small spark of trust began to reappear between them. They talked for a few more minutes, discussing ideas for further improving conditions for the employees and about small projects they could collaborate on. Even though they knew it would be a long journey, there was a feeling that step by step, they were rebuilding something valuable. As Lily left the office, Harrison felt a lightness he hadn't felt in weeks. He knew there was still a lot to do, but he was willing to fight for their relationship and to prove he was worthy of her trust. In the following days, Harrison and Lily started interacting again, but cautiously, like two people getting to know each other all over again. She kept a certain emotional distance, but allowed him to assist in a few initiatives to improve the hotel environment. Together, they began organizing small gatherings to hear directly from employees about what could still be improved. For Harrison, working alongside Lily was an opportunity to show, day by day, that his commitment was genuine. One afternoon, after one of these meetings with the employees, Harrison and Lily were in the break room, having coffee and discussing new ideas. At one point, she relaxed and laughed at something he said, and Harrison realized how much he had missed that genuine smile. However, there was still a cautious look in her eyes, as if she wanted to make sure she wouldn't be hurt again. "Lily, I just want you to know that I never played with your feelings," Harrison said softly, taking the opportunity to clear the air. "You're the reason I'm trying to do my best here. Everything I've done has been inspired by you." She looked at him, her smile fading slightly, but her gaze remained gentle. "Harrison, I understand your intentions, and I see how hard you're working to change things. But this experience has taught me to be careful. I just hope you understand that broken trust takes time to rebuild." He nodded, respecting her words. He knew it was a long process and that each day with her was a gift. Harrison was learning that respect and patience were essential to rebuilding their relationship, and that also meant not pressuring her to forgive him before she was ready. As the weeks passed, the transformation in the hotel became evident. The employees were more motivated, the atmosphere lighter and more positive, and even the guests began to notice the change in the place's energy. Harrison, in addition to overseeing new projects, also took on simple operational tasks. He knew that his presence there was a symbol of commitment, and he wanted everyone to see that he wasn't just a distant leader, but someone who valued every part of the work. One day, while Harrison was in the lobby talking with some guests, he saw Lily watching him from a distance. She seemed surprised, perhaps even moved, to see him working so diligently on something he could easily delegate to any of his managers. It gave him a small sense of hope, as if she was beginning to see the real impact of his transformation. At the end of that shift, as Lily was preparing to leave, Harrison caught up with her at the hotel exit. "Are you liking the changes?" he asked with a genuine smile. She stopped and looked at him thoughtfully. "Yes, the hotel really feels different, and I think everyone senses it. I can see you're committed to what you promised." Seeing an opportunity, Harrison invited her out for coffee, somewhere outside the hotel where they could talk without the formality of the work environment. Surprised, Lily hesitated but eventually accepted the invitation. They went to a nearby cafe where the conversation flowed more naturally and easily. For the first time, Harrison felt the wall of mistrust between them start to come down. As they talked, he opened up more about his own story, something he'd never done before. He shared about the loneliness that came with power, about the distance from friends and family he had chosen to build his empire. Lily listened quietly, taking in every word, and she began to see that, behind the successful businessman's facade, there was someone who was also searching for something real. "Harrison, have you ever asked yourself what you really want besides success?" she asked gently, her tone kind but genuinely curious. He stayed silent for a moment, thinking. "The truth is, I never really knew. I thought having a prestigious hotel chain, respect, and success would be enough. But now I see that it means nothing if you have no one to share it with. Meeting you made me realize what truly matters." Lily looked at him with a mix of understanding and compassion. Although the pain of disappointment was still there, she could see a man genuinely trying to be better, not just for her, but for himself and everyone around him. On the way back, the silence between them was comfortable, and Harrison felt that, for the first time, a fresh start between them was truly possible. Over time, Harrison and Lily continued to share moments together outside the formal hotel environment, deepening their connections slowly and genuinely. Each encounter seemed to bring them closer, even though both maintained a natural caution. Harrison was determined to show her, not just with words but with actions, how much he had changed and learned since meeting her. Changes at the hotel were in full swing. Harrison encouraged the staff to participate in training, investing in everyone's education and development. He also created a feedback policy where everyone could share their opinions and suggest improvements. This open communication system transformed how everyone viewed their work, creating an environment where appreciation and respect were palpable. Lily was deeply involved in this process. She took on a leadership role in the cleaning team, helping Harrison identify areas needing improvement and guiding new employees. Her charisma and dedication made her a role model in the hotel, and Harrison couldn't help but admire how she inspired those around her. One sunny afternoon, after a training event for the staff, Harrison and Lily decided to walk in the park near the hotel. As they walked side by side, Harrison finally brought up a topic he had long hesitated to discuss. "Lily," he began, breaking the silence, "have you ever thought about taking on a more formal leadership role here at the hotel? You have a natural talent for inspiring people, and you know the operational details better than anyone." Lily looked at him, surprised but with a hint of hesitation. "I've never thought about it. Being in charge seems so distant. I've always seen myself as someone who helps behind the scenes." Harrison smiled, encouraging her. "Sometimes that's exactly the kind of person we need in charge. Someone who understands everyone's work and values the small tasks, like you do." They continued walking in silence as Lily processed the proposal. For her, the idea of leading was both exciting and intimidating. But at the same time, she felt inspired by Harrison's recognition and the trust he placed in her. A few days later, Lily decided to accept the offer. Harrison was genuinely moved by her decision, and they began working together to structure her new responsibilities. This transition process was also a way to further strengthen their bond, and Harrison couldn't deny the pride he felt seeing her develop and shine in her new role. As months passed, Lily took on her new position with confidence, implementing ideas and improvements that further transformed the hotel's environment. The team, inspired by her empathetic leadership, became increasingly engaged, and guests noticed the difference. The hotel now reflected a welcoming and caring atmosphere that went beyond superficial luxury. Harrison and Lily gradually found a new way to relate to each other, now with a more mature and balanced partnership. Their feelings for each other deepened, but they both respected the natural pace of things, understanding that time was essential to rebuild trust. One evening after a successful staff event, Harrison invited Lily to dinner. The atmosphere was relaxed, and they both seemed at ease, talking about future plans and laughing about moments from the days when he was still Hank. In a moment of silence, Harrison watched her, feeling deeply grateful to have her by his side. "Lily, you know that all of this, the changes, the improvements, what the hotel has become, would never have happened if I hadn't met you. You made me see what really matters." She smiled, feeling moved, and gently held his hand. "Harrison, you've shown me that people can change. I've learned that sometimes we need to give second chances, not only to others, but also to ourselves." In that moment, both of them felt ready to leave the past behind and embrace a future together. A future built on trust, respect, and a love that, even though born out of uncertainty, had grown stronger over time. Harrison and Lily grew closer each day, and their feelings for each other were clear, even without words. The time they spent together at the hotel, working side by side to build something meaningful, created an intimacy and trust that were tangible. As days went by, Harrison realized he wanted to be present not only by Lily's side, but in all aspects of her life. He knew that, to make this happen, he would need the trust of another important person: Lily's young son, Ben. The opportunity came unexpectedly. One Saturday afternoon, as Harrison and Lily were leaving together after a meeting, he noticed her checking the time with a worried look. "Do you have to be somewhere?" he asked, curious. She smiled, a bit embarrassed. "I promised to pick up Ben from a friend's house, but I'm running a bit late." Harrison hesitated for a moment, then saw an opportunity. "Could I come with you? If you don't mind, of course. I'd like to meet him." Lily looked surprised but saw the sincerity in Harrison's eyes and nodded with a smile. They drove to the quiet neighborhood where Ben was playing with his friends. When they arrived, Harrison felt a wave of nervousness. Meeting Lily's son was an important step, and he wanted it to go well. As soon as Ben saw them, he ran over to Lily with a big smile and threw himself into her arms. He was a 6-year-old boy with bright eyes and an infectious laugh that reflected the same warmth and honesty as his mother. Seeing Harrison next to her, he looked at him curiously. Lily smiled and introduced them. "Ben, this is Harrison. He's my friend, and he works with me at the hotel." Harrison knelt down to be at Ben's eye level and held out his hand, which Ben shook confidently, showing surprising boldness for someone so young. "Hey Ben, your mom talks about you a lot. I heard you're a big superhero fan. Who's your favorite?" Harrison asked, hoping to break the ice. Ben's face lit up and he answered immediately, smiling with excitement. "Spider-Man! He can climb walls and he's super brave." "Great choice," Harrison said, laughing and feeling more at ease. "Spider-Man is awesome. You've got great taste." Lily watched the interaction, her eyes shining, touched by the warm way Harrison was treating her son. Seeing the immediate connection between them, she felt a wave of relief and joy. They spent the rest of the afternoon together, with Harrison sharing funny stories from his childhood as Ben laughed and asked endless questions. By the end of the day, Harrison felt he had made a real friend. He realized that Ben was a lot like Lily, genuine, cheerful, and full of life. As they walked back to the car, Harrison felt a growing desire to be more involved in their lives, to become part of their small family. In the weeks that followed, the three of them shared more and more moments together. Lily gradually allowed Harrison to get closer to Ben, and the boys soon began treating Harrison as a trusted friend. One evening, after a dinner together, Ben came up to Harrison with a mischievous smile. "Are you going to be my mom's superhero?" he asked, with a child's simple sincerity. Lily laughed, a bit embarrassed, while Harrison smiled warmly. "I'll do my best, Ben. Maybe one day I can be as brave as Spider-Man." Ben seemed pleased with the answer, and Lily looked at Harrison with a mix of affection and gratitude. She knew that allowing him into her life and her son's life was a big step, but everything Harrison did seemed genuine and sincere. One evening, after putting Ben to bed, Harrison and Lily sat in her small backyard, looking up at the stars. The calm of the moment brought a deep peace, and they both stayed quiet, enjoying each other's company. "It's funny, you know? I never imagined that someone like you, that someone like us, would end up here, like this together," Lily said, breaking the silence with a gentle smile. Harrison looked at her, his heart racing. "I didn't expect my life to change this much either. Meeting you and Ben, it gave me something I didn't even know I needed." He reached out, gently holding her hand, and Lily intertwined her fingers with his, feeling a security she hadn't felt in a long time. There, under the starlight, Harrison knew it was the right moment. He moved closer slowly, and they kissed, a kiss that conveyed everything words couldn't: affection, respect, and the promise of a future together. After the kiss, they hugged, and Harrison felt he had finally found what he had been searching for. It wasn't about success, the hotel, or money. It was about that moment, that genuine connection with Lily, and the desire to build a real life by her side. The relationship among the three of them developed naturally, and Harrison became a constant presence in Ben's life. He enjoyed taking Ben on weekend outings, whether to the park or to watch superhero movies. One time, he took Ben to an interactive museum where Ben could dress up as his favorite hero, Spider-Man, and take photos. Harrison had never felt so happy seeing the sparkle in Ben's eyes, and he knew these simple moments were the most important. One night, Harrison planned a surprise for Lily. Knowing how much she loved to cook, he invited her for a special dinner he prepared himself. When she arrived, she found the table set with flowers and candles, and Harrison, with an anxious smile, waiting with dinner ready. "I know you're used to seeing gala events and dinners, but tonight I wanted to do something special. Just for us," he said, serving the appetizer as Lily looked at him, enchanted. They dined by candlelight, laughing and recalling funny moments from their early days at the hotel. When they finished, Harrison took her to the terrace, where he had set up a small surprise, a telescope for stargazing. "I wanted to show you something special," he said, adjusting the telescope and pointing to a bright star. "That star right there. When I saw it, it reminded me of you. It's constant, bright, and it guides me." Lily smiled, touched by the gesture and the sincerity in his words. She turned to him, gently touching his face. "You're already my son's hero, and mine too, Harrison." They hugged, and he felt that the love they shared was growing stronger and truer. Harrison knew at that moment that Lily and Ben were his family, and he would do everything to protect and love them. Months passed, and the hotel, now under Lily's direct leadership, was more prosperous and welcoming than ever. Harrison felt extremely proud to see how Lily had taken on her responsibilities with determination and empathy. The work environment reflected her energy. The employees were treated with respect, and the continuous improvement ideas she implemented made everyone feel like part of a big family. Lily was leading the hotel with grace and skill, and Harrison knew he could never have done it without her. Every day by her side only confirmed that the love between them was deep and true. They shared everything: joys, challenges, and dreams. Harrison also remained a constant presence in Ben's life, being the role model and support the boy had never had before. On weekends, they did activities together: picnics in the park, museum visits, and movie nights with popcorn at home. To Ben, Harrison was more than a friend. He was someone he could trust, and increasingly, he felt like part of a real family. Over time, Harrison knew he needed to take a new step. He wanted Lily to know in every way that she and Ben were his life, his priority, his family. Determined, he began planning a marriage proposal that would be worthy of everything she meant to him. On a special night, Harrison took Lily to dinner at a seaside restaurant. The night was illuminated by starlight and the soft sound of waves crashing against the rocks. They talked and laughed, reminiscing about funny stories from their early days and reflecting on how everything had changed since they met. Lily suspected nothing, but Harrison, with every look, grew more anxious for the moment. After dinner, he invited her for a walk on the beach, where a small area was decorated with lights, rose petals, and candles, adding a magical touch to the setting. Lily looked around, enchanted, and before she could say anything, Harrison knelt before her, holding a small box with a delicate sparkling ring. "Harrison," he began, his heart racing, From the moment I met you, my life completely changed. You taught me the value of humility, empathy, and true love. Every day by your side makes me want to be a better man. I want you to know that you and Ben mean everything to me. I can't imagine a future without you. Lily Evans, will you marry me and build this family together?" With tears in her eyes and the brightest smile he'd ever seen, Lily nodded. "Yes, Harrison. Yes, I will. I'll share my life with you, today and always." They embraced, both overwhelmed with emotion, as the world around them seemed to fade away. Harrison slipped the ring on her finger and kissed her under the starlit sky, knowing this was the beginning of a beautiful journey. The wedding day arrived, and the entire hotel felt like an extension of Lily and Harrison's happiness. They decided to hold the ceremony in the hotel's gardens, decorated with flowers of every color and an arch adorned with ivy and white roses. The hotel staff, who had become a big family to them, were all there, moved and happy to celebrate this special moment. Ben, dressed in a small blue suit, was beaming. He was to carry the rings, and the thought of having Harrison as his father made him happier than anything. He adored this man who treated him with love, made him laugh, and was always there for him and his mom. To Ben, it was more than a wedding. It was the moment he would finally have the family he had always wished for. When Lily appeared at the aisle leading to the altar, Harrison felt breathless. She was stunning in a simple yet elegant dress, with a veil that gently swayed in the wind and a bouquet of lilies in her hands. Her eyes sparkled, and her smile seemed to light up the entire place. With his heart pounding, Harrison knew he was the luckiest man alive to have her by his side. Lily walked towards him, her gaze fixed on the man she loved. Each step carried all the love and the journey they had shared. When she finally reached the altar, Harrison held her hands tightly, feeling the emotion of this long-awaited moment. The ceremony was beautiful and full of emotion. The vows they exchanged were heartfelt and sincere. Harrison promised to be not only a devoted husband, but also a loving father to Ben, vowing to do his best to make them happy every day. Lily, with tears in her eyes, promised to stand by his side through all life's moments, always with love and respect. When they both said "I do" and were pronounced husband and wife, applause filled the air, and Ben was the first to run to them, hugging them with pure joy. Harrison knelt down and pulled him close, and the three of them stood there in a tight embrace, sealing the union that was far more than a wedding. It was the fulfillment of a new family. The celebration that followed was joyful and full of unforgettable moments. Ben danced with his mom, making everyone laugh with his clumsy attempts to keep up with the rhythm. Harrison also danced with Lily, holding her close, whispering words of love and gratitude in her ear. Every smile, every laugh, and every toast was a celebration of the life they now shared. Later that night, while watching the guests enjoy the party, Harrison and Lily stepped away for a moment, walking to a quieter part of the garden. He pulled her close, wrapping her in his arms and looking at her with indescribable love. "You know this is just the beginning, don't you?" he said, smiling. Lily nodded, her eyes shining. "Yes, and I couldn't be happier. You showed me what true love is, Harrison." They kissed under the starlit sky, feeling the peace and happiness of having found their place in the world. For Harrison, nothing was more precious than the family they had created. And as he held Lily in his arms, he knew he was exactly where he was meant to be, with the people he loved, ready to live a life filled with love, trust, and hope beside them. Do you think Harrison was right to keep the truth from Lily? Share your thoughts in the comments. Rate this story from 0 to 10. What score would you give? Subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon to follow all our stories, and be sure to watch more heartwarming stories by clicking here on the end screen.